Picture this, you're in your kitchen on a regular Tuesday morning, sipping your coffee, when the phone rings. It's a lawyer with news that turns your world upside down. You've just inherited $1 million from a distant relative. Your heart races, your mind swirls with a mix of shock, excitement, and a daunting sense of uncertainty. But before you can even process it, you're also bombarded with calls from financial advisors, bankers, distant family members, charities, all wanting a piece of pie. It feels like everyone has a plan for your money except you. How do you navigate this chaos? What steps do you take to ensure this blessing doesn't all of a sudden turn into a curse? We've seen this exact situation dozens of times, and so in this video, we'll give you some specific tools to navigate the chaotic and stressful situation you find yourself in, including a 5-step framework for when you should be making certain decisions. We'll also look at a couple who recently had to decide how to divide their 7-figure inheritance, and I'll touch on one of the most overlooked issues when it comes to sudden wealth, a thing that especially most couples, it seems, don't see coming. I'm Steve Willems. I'm a wealth advisor here with the Willems Wealth Planning Group out here in BC. We started this channel to help you plan for your own retirement, helping you think about how to plan and arrange your investments, your income streams, and ideally have you pay less tax along the way. Now, this Tuesday morning scenario is playing itself every single day here in Canada. At a macro level, at a high level, a massive amount of money is beginning to change hands and generations. The current estimate predicts that Canada is witnessing the largest generational transfer of wealth in its history, with over $1 trillion moving from baby boomers to Gen X and millennial heirs by 2026. It's not that far away. Now, this unprecedented shift presents both opportunities and challenges for the new generation of inheritors because, ready or not, here it comes. We found that having a roadmap for this season of life is especially helpful to give folks a sense of structure of the steps involved, especially as emotions can run much higher than normal. First, we need to somehow deal with these emotions. In the story above, I shared that this call came from the loss of a distant relative, but more often than not, it's actually coming from the loss of a parent. And because this only happens once or twice in our lifetimes, there's little that we feel we can do to prepare ourselves for the emotions we'll feel in that season. When we think about the inheritance in its true financial sense, we have to realize that the inheritance is absolutely not about the dollars and the cents. In many cases, it's a remnant of a person we love. The wealth is interwoven to your loved one's memories. So before you can do anything, just take time to grapple with the reality and be sensitive to the fact that you may choose to make different financial decisions with this money simply because of the source of where it came from. For whatever reason, these dollars, they feel different than the dollars that you worked for, you earned, you sweated, you billed for. And that may or may not actually make sense rationally, but it may just be. So be sensitive to that reality. Next, commit to taking your time with these decisions. Handling an estate can be complex. In dealing with that complexity, many professionals will likely be involved in the process. If money is settling to you from an insurance policy or accounts where you are named as a direct beneficiary, these dollars might actually show up pretty quick, days or maybe even weeks, while the rest of the estate may move much slower as the estate gets probated, which will often take months, maybe even years. Now, regardless of how quickly the money's coming to you, just agree to slow down and avoid rushing into financial decisions as it relates to your own situation. Assuming these aren't the first dollars to your name, you already have some savings and maybe a house, other assets. Some of your best financial decisions in the past likely were prudently and thoughtfully evaluated. No reason not to use the same steady-handed prudence here. Use this time to understand the inheritance fully and understand the legal aspects, the tax aspects, before you start working through how it should integrate in with your own financial life. Third, you're going to want to learn and get some good advice. Available data and anecdotal reports suggest that most average Canadians do not, in fact, feel prepared to manage the money that they will inherit. A recent study by Ipsos found that 61% of Canadians didn't feel knowledgeable or had even heard of the probate process or the process to establish the validity of a will. So assuming you've been called on to act as an executor for a loved one's estate, you'll want to educate yourself on the overall process, the steps involved, the legal responsibilities of that particular role that you find yourself involved in. But even if you're not involved in actually settling out the estate in a formal capacity, if you're solely just going to be a beneficiary or an inheritor, still, you're going to want to educate yourself about your financial options and seek guidance from trustworthy financial advisors. These professionals should help you understand your choices. They should help craft a plan that fits your needs and values. You're going to want to look for advisors who educate, who guide, not just instruct. As a hint, this person probably isn't the teller at the bank who, when you deposit a large check, reads from the automated prompt on the screen to ask if you already have plans for the money. Probably not that person. Next, it's time to start reviewing your own financial plan. Now, given this new financial reality, it's important to revisit a few basics. So here are a few quick things to think about at this stage. Number one, if you already have a drafted financial plan, it's time to pull it out and see if this was in the realm of what you had previously planned around. If this number is materially larger or smaller, or it's coming sooner or much, much later than what you had expected, it might be time to rerun those numbers now. Number two, if you haven't yet fully built out a comprehensive financial plan, now is your time. You'll want to find a certified financial planner professional who can create this for you. It'll take a few meetings, but the process will be worth the time investment in helping you get clarity. Third, once you have these plans, it will help you solve the best quantitative use of the money that you're now receiving. Should you pay down the mortgage? Should you top up your TFSA? Should you pay down the car loan, fast track retirement savings? How will this affect your income taxes in the future? The opportunity cost of all of this stuff. The point of this planning process isn't to actually paint a perfect picture of the future, but to use a pile of reasonable assumptions to quantify both the options available and the value of those different options, ultimately helping you make better decisions today. By the way, if you'd like a hand building your own plan out, every month we set aside a few hours to help answer questions just like these from the community at large. If you'd like to grab one of those time slots, I'll put a link in the description below for you to take advantage of that. In this process, you're going to need to decide how you want to balance these new dollars, which leads us to item 5, balancing giving, saving, and enjoyment. We find that when people have money rules, like an invisible set of internal laws, they make better financial decisions. If the rules exist beforehand, it's almost like the good behavior is on autopilot. Now, the same is true here. Of the proceeds, you'll need to determine how to distribute the inheritance proceeds among charitable giving, saving for the future, and plain old personal enjoyment. There's no right or wrong here. It will 100% be informed by your financial plan, which we just talked about. The key word here is balance, not one without the other, probably some of all. Here's a balancing act we often see. Imagine a child receives $1 million from one of their parents when the second of their parents passes away. The kids, let's picture them being married. Maybe one's 58 and the other spouse, maybe 62. Let's say they're previously on track for their own retirement, and this now confirms and it gives them added cushion. So for this couple, here's a way that they broke out this inheritance to hit this balance of all of these different objectives. First, they chose to set up a $100,000 fund at their local community foundation in their mom's memory. That fund is going to give out scholarships every single year forever in her honor. They plan to have their grandkids involved with selecting a student that will receive those awards in their grandma's memory. After doing that, they plan to use $150,000 to top up their tax-free savings accounts. They plan to use $25,000 to pay off a residual truck loan. They had a rate that was only 2.9%, but it just felt better having it gone and simplified, something that they didn't ever have to worry about ever again. They chose to have $100,000 set aside to fund 3 family trips. The first trip is going to be to a place where mom had always wanted to go, but never could. Hawaii, Europe, wherever it may be. The $33,000 will be the seed money to cover the family's basics for each trip. And in the future, other generations will work together to pitch the next trip to the group at large. $75,000 is set aside for some home improvement projects. And that leaves $550,000, which is going to be retained to buttress their own retirement plan. So for this couple, the balancing act has about 10% given away immediately to their community, the things that they care about, 20% is going to be going to family experiences, debt pay down, and some work on the home, the enjoyment part. And the remaining 70% is going to be left to provide optionality for their future. It's not that it won't be spent in the future, it will. It's just that by not committing to a specific spending plan today, they're leaving the door open to explore those options down the road in the future. Now, once you've done the hard work of mapping out this allocation, now all you need to do is get the money in the right pots where it'll be hanging around, making sure that those dollars are invested in a way that's appropriate to their intended goal. This is probably the easy part of the whole thing, but it's often missed. Now, at the start, I mentioned that there was one area that was often overlooked, especially among couples when it comes to receiving inheritance, and that's this. Be aware of how this journey will impact both your personal relationships and your mental health. From the outside, many don't realize how inheriting a large sum can alter the dynamics with their family, their friends, and even within a marriage. It's not uncommon to face requests for financial help from those on the outside, envy, or even the assumption that your life is now free of problems. Moreover, the psychological effects, often termed as sudden wealth syndrome, can lead to anxiety, guilt, and even decision paralysis. Even among partners, where one partner tends to take the lead of financial decisions, acting as maybe the family CFO, inheritances can lead to a type of dance among couples as they figure out how to deal with this new reality. Again, totally reasonable, since we already said that this money isn't the same as other money that you earned. This stuff feels different because it is. So I hope that's helpful. If you've already walked down this road, would you consider sharing a bit of your story in the comments below? What did you learn? If you're willing to share, I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, hit that like button and consider subscribing for more videos that'll help you prepare for retirement. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.